Transmigrated as a disabled protagonist, how should I continue the script? Chapter 22 Ranking Errors. Tezuka Osamu began to take action. First, Rokudo Mukuro entered Japan with the goal of searching for the Vongole Decimo. As an illusionist on the run, in order to accurately find the heir of the Vongole family, there are only two possibilities. First, there is a powerful enough intel broker who can provide the location of the Vongole heir. Second, there is an internal conflict within the Vongole family, and an insider reveals the location of the heir. The person before has limited scope, while the latter's ability isn't vast. The more established the mafia, the more they value the inheritance of bloodlines. Simply put, the more traditional and conservative they are, the more they despise outsiders interfering in family affairs. Moreover, how could Vongole be lacking an illusionist? If they wanted to assassinate the heir, they wouldn't need to seek outsiders. Rokudo Mukuro must have an intelligence source. This person is extremely knowledgeable about Vongole matters and has already controlled its course. Tezuka Osamu recently received pocket money from Mori Ogai, spending it on the blade. He used the excuse of Yakimaru going out to fight and frequently left, successfully obtaining important intelligence related to the Vongole family. Futa, a well-known Italian intelligence dealer, arrived in Japan. It turned out that he was a member of the Vongole family. What a coincidence, both arriving in Japan one after the other. Tezuka Osamu didn't believe in any coincidence. His gaze towards events was cold and ruthless, like a snake eyeing its prey. His alias is Ranking Futa. Is it due to his ranking abilities? This is a bit troublesome. Tezuka Osamu, who holds the ability, No Longer Human, has never forgotten that not only can he actively nullify an enemy's ability, but he can also render any ability ineffective on himself. He is essentially an entity that insulates against supernatural powers. Tezuka Osamu broke off a skewer and pulled it out, with the name, Rokudo Mukuro, still remaining on it. Let me take a look, where's the change? Ahead. Using his own strength, he slaughtered the entire city of evil spirits. The phantom youth, Yakimaru, could not find new evil entities, and he wandered like a guardian of Yokohama City, his footsteps spread across quiet places. The aura of a robust and mature demon god on him declared a sense of existence to things in the darkness, as if he had claimed the city as the ruler of Hyaki. Sooner or later, he will stand shoulder to shoulder with the Sheep King. In Yokohama, you will see a boy in a robe walking through desolate, uninhabited places. He will not listen to anything you say, nor will he stop for you. It's as if he lives in another world, a phantom. Tezuka Osamu thought of the urban rumors he'd heard, put aside the bamboo skewer, and smiled as he hurried forward. Yakimaru waited for him a few meters away. In an instant, the sky became overcast, dark clouds filling the air. A few rays of sunlight still pierced through, resting at the edge of Yakimaru's steps, accentuating the white pattern on his yukata. His expression remained unwavering, resolute as ever. The wind howled, the rain threatened to fall, yet even a natural disaster could not make him retreat. Yakimaru, it's going to rain. Let's go take shelter. They hadn't planned for rain. In Yakimaru's later understanding, Tezuka Osamu could not find a reason to walk alone in the rain. Because this person would also accompany him. Japan, near Kokuyo Junior High School, in an abandoned residence. A boy with deep red pupils in his right eye, inscribed with the number 6, sat on the sofa, unconcerned with the dust and cobwebs around him, simply pondering while looking at Futa, whom he had captured. Futa's full name is Futa de Easter, and he claims to possess the most comprehensive ranking book in the entire universe. However, after investigations by the Italian mafia, it was discovered that this is simply a unique ability. His book is the condition for activating his ability, and when not activated, no one else can see any text in the ranking book. The 9-year-old boy with pale skin stood in front of him, lips pressed together without saying a word. But doing so was useless. Rokudo Mukuro used his trident to pierce through the opponent, signifying the contract and taking control of the opponent's body. He did not abuse the child he favored, nor did he show leniency to this young intelligence dealer. Rank them for me. I need to know the location of Vangala Decimo. He crossed his legs, his expression indifferent, and when mentioning the name Vangala, a mocking glint appeared in his eyes. The largest mafia family in Italy, and also the source of all crime. I can't rank. Although knowing that Rokudo Mukuro was an illusionist, and even after receiving Reborn's advice, Futa was still terrified and uneasy even when he's not ranking. Such a frightening ability. Just a wound, yet a contract with an illusionist was established, and it could control a person. Futa looked around at the floating objects surrounding him, shut his mouth, and helplessly ranked for him. His eyes became hollow, as if reading some mysterious text, but in reality, he was meticulously recalling his conversation with Reborn. Futa, after you leave here, take Rokudo Mukuro to Namimori. Wouldn't that be too dangerous? Ah, if it's not dangerous, it won't be meaningful. That Danmei Suna needs to gain some knowledge about the outside world. Alright then. The world's #1 hitman, Reborn, who is also the tutor of Vangala Decimo heir Sawada Tsunayoshi, chose to train his student in this way. Futa had no right to oppose it. Having seen the innocent Tsunani, Futa sincerely hoped that he could grow up. Otherwise, Reborn will tease him to death. It was already done. Futa had specifically ranked Rokudo Mukuro's movements, intentionally running into the dangerous illusionist, making himself a pawn in the illusionist's hands. He wanted to use Rokudo Mukuro's probing to reasonably expose Vangala Decimo's downfall, guiding the enemy step by step to find Sawada Tsunayoshi, and then, he would need to safeguard the classified intel in his mind, forcefully sealing his spirit, locking away his ranking ability. Everything had been carefully planned. The mind of a 9-year-old mafia intelligence broker spun in endless circles, not lacking in the slightest compared to others. The residence of the Vangala Decimo heir, ranked 3rd, is Honshu Island, Japan. Ranked 2nd is the city of Nagoya. His voice was dry, and the ranking became increasingly precise in locating the position. Boom! Outside, the thunder roared, and torrential rain poured down over many cities. The objects floating around Futa began to grow extremely unstable. Rokudo Mukuro's gaze became serious, thinking that Futa's ranking had mentioned a crucial secret of the Vangala family, with the fall of the Vangala Decimo heir revealed in the final sentence. Ranked 1st. Kanagawa Prefecture, Japan. Yokohama City. As soon as the words left his mouth, Futa immediately felt his strength weaken, as if his brain had been pried open, causing intense pain. He collapsed from midair onto the ground, and the book slipped from his hands. This was the most severe interference his power had ever faced, as if the downpour itself was meant to suppress him, and his rational thoughts became uncontrollably chaotic. Yokohama. Rokudo Mukuro suddenly stood up. Had he been looking in the wrong direction? Futa didn't forget his mission, holding on and shouting, "Wrong. You're thinking wrong. My abilities are unstable in rainy weather, I can't accurately rank." Rokudo Mukuro let out a cold laugh. "Do you think I'd believe what a mafia says?" Futa clutched his aching head and insisted, "I'm afraid you'll kill me. This location is wrong. If you don't believe me, I can rank again and show you." Tsunani is in Namimori, a town under Nagoya Prefecture, definitely not Yokohama in Kanagawa Prefecture. Every time it rains, his ability suffers significant interference, making it impossible for him to communicate with the ranking stars. This middle school syndrome talk is something he claims himself. In fact, his ability cannot function properly on rainy days, and during such times, he tends to rank some rare and peculiar things. Very well, rank it for me again. Rokudo Mukuro, fully aware of his ability, knew he wouldn't dare to put on a show in front of him. This time, rank the most suitable person in Japan to become Vangala Decimo. Rokudo Mukuro had some reservations and did not directly ask for the name. After all, the ranking ability requires a proper ranking process to obtain the result, not just acting as a simple search engine. Futa immediately began the ranking, and once again, his body floated weightlessly. He opened his mouth, almost shouting in fear. The most suitable candidate for Vangala Decimo, ranked 3rd is Xanxus. Ranked 2nd. Sawada Tsunayoshi. Ranked number 1 is Nakahara Chuya. Wait a minute, where's Tsunane's name? And who is this Nakahara Chuya from some corner of Japan? Futa was dumbfounded. His own ability was already inconsistent on rainy days, but why did it suddenly become something he had never heard of before? Wait, no. This is still wrong. Futa struggled to shout, his hand not yet able to grab Rokudo Mukuro's pant leg before his vision darkened, and it felt like bright red blood was trickling out of his nose. The 9-year-old child immediately passed out. Rokudo Mukuro stopped, looked down at Futa, and said, "Ken, help me carry him." Just like him, Joshima Ken, who survived human experiments, stepped forward, following his orders and casually picking up the child. Meanwhile, another more rational individual stood by the door and asked Rokudo Mukuro, "Mukuro-sama, where should we go next? Can we trust what this child is saying?" Rokudo Mukuro responded, "We're going to Yokohama." As for the second question, Futa is lying. The blue-haired youth's eyes flickered with a cold, sharp light. He's hiding something from me, but through the power of the contract, I can clearly sense that he's telling the truth. He stepped up the stairs, walking ahead of the 3 others, with an undying hatred for the mafia in his heart. Once we've arrived in Yokohama, we'll proceed with the next ranking, and find the strongest one. Anyone who could strip Xanxus of his inheritance rights, with such a notorious reputation in Italy, Vangala Decimo's strength is certainly not ordinary. From what I know, he's not very old, and is the biological son of external advisor Sawada Imitsu. Is his name Sawada Tsunayoshi, or perhaps Nakahara Chuya? Kufufufu, we'll see based on the situation. The Mafia external advisor inherited the bloodline of the first-generation Vangala boss, with blonde hair and blue eyes. As long as this bloodline exists, they essentially possess the natural right of succession. The detestable Mafia group values nothing more than the hereditary bloodline system. Rokudo Mukuro left. At Suribachi City, completely unaware of his destiny being predetermined, Nakahara Chuya glanced at the weather. This strange weather, when it said it would rain, it rained, and when it said it would clear up, it cleared up. Nakahara Chuya stopped using his gravity manipulation ability to control the rain, holding a bento in his hand as he spoke. "Just deliver this one order and I'll be done." He was juggling 4 or 5 different temporary jobs at once, full of energy, and with his gravity abilities, physical exhaustion was especially easy to reduce. In a short time, he had indeed managed to make a substantial sum for living expenses. Thinking of the small children in the sheep, Nakahara Chuya's gaze softened. These people were innocent. Then, Nakahara Chuya immediately had the thought of finishing the job and heading back. He dashed off, faster than a speeding car. Arriving at a nearly empty bubble tea shop, he followed the directions from the phone and the address to deliver. "Hello, may I ask if you ordered pizza, a lunchbox, or?" The words on the back, he read out slowly, grinding them out. Tezuka Osamu sat in a corner, biting the straw of his bubble tea, while Yakimaru also sat there, holding his bubble tea, looking dazed. Both of them simultaneously lifted their heads to look in his direction. "Hi. Kill." The unmistakable annoyance aimed at him came from none other than Tezuka Osamu, who had been irritating him for a long time. Nakahara Chuya threw the bento box over, which Tezuka Osamu easily caught, nullifying the terrifying gravity that had been placed on it. The boy, unable to hold back any longer, furiously rolled up his sleeves and said, "Let's settle this outside." This miserable life, he never imagined it would turn out this way. Nakahara Chuya thought he was fighting Tezuka Osamu, but sadly, he ended up facing Yakimaru. He didn't dare recklessly use his gravity ability anymore and instead fought hand-to-hand with the black-haired boy. Dazai Osamu sat at the door of a bubble tea shop, munching on pizza while rambling on. Little shorty, using pizza to bribe customers, I ought to leave you a bad review. Get lost. The color-changing demon god, life flame, surged as if it were exploding, with its deep red core roiling like hellish lava, yet it was tightly restrained by a thin outer layer of pale crimson. Yakimaru sensed that the pressure was significantly less than in previous encounters. The demon god had no intention of killing him. Why? Unconsciously, he reduced his strength a little, giving Nakahara-chuya, who was practicing martial arts, a moment to catch his breath. Nakahara-chuya seemed to realize his own flaw, relying too much on the advantage brought by gravity. Why are you holding back? Yakimaru, confused, found himself developing a newly understood language with his opponent in the midst of the battle. Of course, Nakahara-chuya launched a wide and aggressive kick, while behind him, there was an overly talkative Dazai Osamu saying, "Careful not to overstretch your legs." He focused intensely, veins popping, as he confronted Yakimaru. I'm not your enemy. The one he wanted to kill was that blue mackerel, not him. After exchanging blows, Yakimaru pulled back, keeping a distance. His dual swords remained sheathed, his limbs as flexible as a puppet's, revealing an extraordinary combat style. Are you a human possessed by the demon god? The demon god may roar, but humanity is not necessarily guilty to the extent of deserving death 1,000 times over. It is very likely they are simply caught in the crossfire. Yakimaru searched the entire city, nearly wiping out the evil entities, but he could only find one demon god. If he abandoned the idea of subjugating that one, how would he find a second demon god within half a year? The thoughts of slaughter intertwined with human reasoning, and the desire for existence whimpered in agony. He slowly unsheathed his weapon. Nakahara-chuya was somewhat in despair. Are we going to fight to the death like this again? Dazai Osamu clapped his hands, picked up a phone, and responded with a few words. After that, he wrapped his arms around Yakimaru's waist from behind, pulling back the undecided black-haired boy who was about to continue the fight. We'll stop here for today. See you next time. Who wants to see you next time? Nakahara-chuya picked up a stone from the ground and threw it, but it didn't hit Dazai Osamu, as Yakimaru blocked it. Dazai Osamu touched the scratch on the prosthetic in Yakimaru's palm, a surge of anger rising within him. He maintained a smile and said, "You're finished. Just wait to die. You'll never climb back up, you slug." This came from a mass of black sludge filled with multiple layers of curses, which directly turned into sharp arrows, severely injuring Nakahara-chuya. The Sheep King went into a frenzy again, chasing the two all the way to a nearby clinic before giving up. They closed the door. Dazai Osamu wiped the sweat off and said, "That was really dangerous." He turned and asked Yakimaru, who showed no signs of fatigue, "You want to kill him, don't you?" Yakimaru remained silent. Dazai Osamu quietly, almost inaudibly, said, "Wait a bit, there will be a chance." Yakimaru stared intently at the white flames connected to him, their hands clasped together. Whether he could survive after breaking away from his foster father depended on obtaining body parts by defeating the demon gods. What should I do now? Should I kill all the demon gods that stand in my way? He touched Dororo's face, just as he had always tried to express his feelings to his foster father. You will understand, won't you? I want to survive together with you. Chapter 22 End.